acts of kindness, no matter how small, will always come back to reward us in some way. Whether it's through reciprocation or simply good karma from the universe, things seem to get just a little bit better for us after helping another in need. Yet even when we do good, the saying, "no good deed goes unpunished," still sometimes rings true. When one Chicago woman noticed that a fellow pet owner left his dog alone at the park for close to an hour, she made sure to express her concern about the animal's well-being once he returned. However, it was the man's response that left the entire park in shock. If you were to look up "animal lover" in the dictionary, you'd find the likes of Deborah Ervin. The Chicago photographer is the proud parent of a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel named Cooper and even runs her own pet photography business. Being the dedicated pet owner that she is, Ervin makes sure to walk Cooper regularly, often taking him to the popular Fred Anderson Dog Park in South Loop. But on the morning of November 9, 2017, her visit to the dog park was anything but a pleasant one. As Ervin unleashed Cooper to give him a chance to stretch his legs, another park patron did the same with his own pooch. However, instead of taking a seat alongside the other pet owners, the man simply got up and left. According to Ervin, the dog immediately went into a panic, clearly confused as to where his owner had gone. He was there by himself, another witness told CBS 2. He was nervous. He was shaking. He was looking for his owner. Ervin and the other pet owners approached the stressed canine, though when they got close, they discovered that he had no tag or collar to identify him or his owner. Believing that no one would return for the dog, Ervin took action. First, she opted to wait 10 minutes just in case the man did come back for the poor pup. But after those 10 minutes passed without sign of the owner, Ervin contacted Animal Rescue to come collect the dog. However, before anyone from Animal Rescue could arrive, a familiar vehicle pulled up at the park. To the surprise of Ervin and the other park-goers, the dog's owner had returned for his pup. The man strolled into the park and went right for his dog, leashing him up as if nothing had happened. Ervin, however, was troubled by this. After all, the man had left his pet alone here for well over a half an hour. Hoping to talk some sense into the owner, Ervin voiced her concern for the dog and explained that what he'd done wasn't okay. The man refused to listen and instead became hostile and stormed off with his pet. But Ervin wasn't about to let this neglectful pet owner get off that easily. Taking out her phone, she pursued the man into the parking lot, only there he continued to grow even more aggressive. "You're not a cop," he exclaimed as Ervin followed him to his car, making sure to get a clear shot of his face and his license plates. The dedicated animal lover was barely concerned for her own safety, even as the man got in her face and shouted. Things continued to escalate as the man had clearly had enough of the pursuing pet owner's reprimands. After yanking his dog up by his leash and tossing him into the car, he turned around and spat at Ervin. Climbing into his vehicle, the man then made a last-ditch attempt to get Ervin to stop recording. He rolled down his window and swiped at Ervin's phone, though she managed to hang onto it and continued to film as he drove away. Returning to the park, the other pet owners commended Ervin, explaining that this wasn't the first time the man had abandoned his dog at the park. Ervin was shocked at this news, and so, in the hope of dissuading any future abandonment attempts, she shared her video to Facebook. Ervin's post was flooded with an outpouring of support, with many fellow animal lovers condemning the actions of the hostile pet owner. However, a number of users were also quick to point out the danger of the situation, warning her that things could have gotten violent at any moment. But Ervin's only care at the time had been the well-being of the dog. If this man is proven to be a repeat offender, obviously from the video he has some anger management issues, perhaps my efforts will help to keep this very sweet pup safe, she told CBS 2. Still, that didn't stop Ervin from filing a police report against the man, as spitting at someone is technically considered battery. The man was later identified by local police, though according to CBS 2, they weren't actively searching for him at the time. Though Ervin came out on top in her confrontation with the pet owner, the altercation left behind some lingering effects. Despite support from other park-goers, she explained that she wouldn't be returning to Fred Anderson Dog Park anytime soon. Even though she'll have to take Cooper elsewhere to play, it's safe to say that wherever Ervin goes next, she'll be greeted by plenty of thankful pet owners. If Ervin's video has inspired even just one person to keep a better eye on their pets, then all the trouble of that November day will have been worth it. Even when paired with a loving owner, however, some dogs just can't shake their nerves. Sean Farrell learned this firsthand when he brought 10-year-old Buster into his home, though the dog's demeanor would do little to stop him from trying to get his new pal to crack a smile. Sean couldn't imagine life without his precious Buster, so he tried to give the Staffordshire Bull Terrier everything a dog could ever want. Unfortunately, parts of caring for Buster remained a struggle. Even after a couple of years with his loving owner, the poor pup suffered from major trust issues. Besides having trouble spending time around male strangers, Buster sometimes barely left Sean's bedroom. The exact cause of Buster's anxiety was a bit of a mystery. Sean took him in after a traumatic incident caused authorities to take the Bull Terrier away from his old home. The exact details never came to light. Nevertheless, Sean tried to make the best of Buster's reserved personality. He found the pooch's low-key demeanor made him an ideal therapy dog for the sick and elderly. These interactions were helpful for Buster's socialization, too. For a while, Buster received a lot of support from Zook, Sean's other dog who was the life of the party despite being disabled. But after Zook passed away at the ripe old age of 17, Buster lost one of his few friends. Sean wanted desperately to bring Buster fully out of his shell, but nothing seemed to work. It got to the point where the dog lover realized he would have to make a big jump to help Buster feel safe and secure. That next afternoon, Sean paid a visit to his local hardware store. He picked up some lumber, a bucket of paint, and a few other knickknacks. From there, Sean began his genius plan, unsure if it would work. The project broke ground when Sean cleared out a corner of his living room and set up a wooden frame. Though it started to look like a shelf, Sean had a much grander vision in mind. These days, Buster rarely came out of his bedroom, even when Sean coaxed him with a treat. But he needed the dog for a moment, so he dragged the reluctant pup out toward the mini construction site. Sean plopped Buster inside the wooden frame to make sure the dimensions were correct. The sizes seemed just perfect for his plan. After leading the dog back into the bedroom, Sean excitedly rummaged through his materials. By the end of the day, Sean's handiwork was really taking shape. He envisioned it as a safe haven of sorts for Buster, though it obviously needed some more work before the big reveal. He resumed construction the minute he woke up the next morning. Meanwhile, Buster had to stay cooped up in the bedroom for the most part. Sean didn't want him sniffing around his half-finished project, so the Bull Terrier had to find ways to entertain himself. But his owner could only keep him at bay for so long. After a couple days, Sean introduced his furry friend to the bare bones of his blood, sweat, and tears. It would be Buster's very own boudoir. Once Sean decked out the interior, the pup would have a comfortable place of his own in the house. Needless to say, Sean went all out when it came to designing the inside of the boudoir. With its fluffy bed and modern paint job, it looked nicer than quite a few human-sized apartments. Sean also included some meaningful personal touches. Above the center window, where he could check in on his pooch, Sean included a favorite quotation. "Imagine being a monkey, on the front is the first line from a lullaby I sing to him when he's having bad dreams," he explained. A shelf lined the inside wall displayed a colored light and a row of items that gave the boudoir a homey touch. Sean included a figurine of a dog in a wheelchair, a tribute to the handicapped dogs he rescued in the past. And that wasn't the only homage either. Sean hung up a few photos of the dearly departed Zook, who also popped up on a small TV screen every now and then. Though Buster had occasional trouble socializing with other people and dogs, surely these images would put his mind at ease. Sean hoped that all his hard work would pay off, and not just be a wasted vanity project. As luck would have it, Buster took to the completed boudoir immediately. Within minutes, he was snoozing away. Ever since he got his own little corner of the house, Buster's had a big smile on his face. It certainly made it easier for him to interact with other people, and when Sean shared the story online, the Bull Terrier got a ton of new fans. In fact, the pictures of Sean's big project got over 20 million views on Facebook. He may have to build a doggy summer home if he wants to keep up his notoriety. And if he needs to get even more creative about managing canine anxiety, he can use an ingenious strategy cooked up by another clever dog owner. Sarah was a sweet-natured rescue dog. She loved her new human, enjoyed playing and going for walks, and was typically well-behaved, until her owner, Colleen, left the house. That's when she started acting up. In a haze of worry and fear, the poor dog would start barking endlessly, pant up a storm, pace around like a madwoman looking for her owner, and chew on the furniture. It wasn't healthy. See, due to Sarah's rough past, she suffered from a great amount of separation anxiety. It didn't matter how long Colleen was gone, Sarah would go into a frenzy. One time, she even rubbed her nose raw on the couch. Of course, nobody wants to see their dog in any kind of pain, mental or physical, so Colleen tried everything she could to help her dog out. She got plenty of advice from other dog parents and started training in treatments. She tried long walks, CBD oils, and crate training didn't make a difference at all. Even prescription drugs for anxiety like Prozac didn't put the pup's mind at ease. It evolved into my having to be with her constantly, leaving her with someone else, or having to take her to doggy daycare whenever I left, Colleen said. Luckily, she thought she finally found a solution to her pupper's problems. It was actually her cousin who came up with the idea. Why don't you try making some sort of dummy of yourself, so Sarah thinks you're always with her? She suggested. The plan sounded great, but then the dummy arrived. The creepy-looking thing, Colin figured, wouldn't fool her dog for a second. My Sarah would not fall for such simple deception, she thought. Still, she wanted to give the dummy a shot, anything to soothe her beloved dog's anxiety. So she began making the dummy, nicknamed Dolly, look and smell more like herself by dressing it in her clothes. Visuals were one thing, but dogs, Colleen knew, are all about smells. So, to make sure the dummy smelled as realistic as possible, she put Dolly in her bed. Those blankets and sheets were Smell City. With Dolly looking and smelling the part, Colleen started placing it around the house. That way, Sarah would constantly cross paths with the dummy, becoming more familiar with it. The first place Dolly posted up? The bathroom. Colleen didn't want it to be in a place Sarah frequented because, well, if she figured out it was just a dummy, the plan kind of fell flat. To her surprise, the plan worked. Just a glance at Dolly seemed to be enough to put Sarah at ease, even for several hours. For the one of the first times ever, Colleen came home and found Sarah sleeping on the couch, cool as a cucumber. Then, one day, Colleen came home and couldn't find Sarah anywhere. She checked the living room, the kitchen, the bedroom. Finally, she opened the bathroom door and found Sarah sleeping at Dolly's feet. Something she'd never done before. In a way, Colleen was right. Sarah was too smart for the dummy. She didn't think the uncanny thing was her mom. Still, those familiar smells coupled with a familiar, human-like object, gave the pooch comfort. Even with Sarah's newfound comfort, Colleen didn't plan on pressing her luck. Long vacations were off the table. Still, she was elated with the results. It has worked better than many other methods so far, she said. And, of course, Colleen didn't use Dolly as an excuse to shirk mom duties. She and Sarah still cuddle up on the couch and spend every minute possible together. They're best buds, after all.